So, hello guys, good morning. Okay, so in the previous class, we were started with the electronic properties in solids. Okay, so in this class, we are following up the properties in semiconductor. So I just review the last class. Previously, what we saw that there's, solids are divided into three categories. One of them is conductor, another is semiconductor, and third is non-conductor. Non-conductor, we also sometimes call them insulator. Insulator, what is the insulator? Which has the energy band gap very high. While we talk about the conductor, so energy band gap means their conduction band and the valency bands are almost overlapping. While in case of the semiconductor, if you see here, the conduction band, energy band is separated by a small band gap, which we called it energy band gap. Okay, so in case of the silicon, this energy band gap is approximately 1.1 eV, while in germanium it is quite small, it could be 0.67 eV, while it goes slightly higher, 1.41 in case of gallium and arsenide. Because you are chemistry guys, so I let you know in polymers, which there's few polymers, small molecules which are semiconductors. Okay, so in those semiconductor means organic semiconductors, generally the semiconductor, the energy band gap is slightly higher than inorganic semiconductor. So here we are this is approximately very close to the 1 electron volt, while if you go to the semiconductor, it goes approximately how much? It goes approximately 2 electron volt to 2.5 to 3 electron volt. So this energy band gap is slightly higher in your organic semiconductors. Okay, so later once you go to the higher classes, you can realize that there is organics are also having their semiconducting properties, electronic properties. So we move further. So now the question is, how is the conductivity in conductors? So generally, if you talk about the electricity is flow of electron. So we can see the electricity comes from electrons. It means the conductivity comes from the electron. So from where these electrons comes, so we'll go further. So what are the best conductor we talk about? These are copper, silver, gold, aluminum, and nickel. In the previous slide, previous classes, I show you how is the conductivity is increasing with respect to decrease of resistivity. And there are some alloys also. Alloys are always a good conductor. They are brass and steel. They are comes in the category of alloys. And while they are good conductors, can also be liquids, for example salt water. These are good conductors. Okay, so let's say the conductor in atomic structure, we go to the from the atomic scale. So how the conductivity comes? So if you talk about the conductors, let's say we are taking the first example, copper. Okay, copper, how much is the atomic number? This is 29. And we see the electron distribution over here. The electrons are distributed in outermost cell, and we see the outer electrons, outermost cell. Can you see here? There is only one electron, and it is not, strongly bound to the nucleus. So these electrons are generally called the free electron, or generally we call, instead of free electron, we call that valence electron. And it can be easily stripped from the atom. And this electron, when it is stripped from the atom, then it will be free to move. And this provides the conductivity to the conductor, right? When it is free from the electron. That's okay. Now it's clear. Let's say we go to the insulator. So in insulator, for example, we glass, ceramics, and plastic. Unfortunately, what happened? There is no free electron. Why? Because in that case, all the electrons are tightly bound. If you say they are tightly bound to one another, so electrons are difficult to strip away from the current flow. Because there is no free electron, that's why they cannot conduct the electricity. Right? That's clear? Okay. Now we see the semiconductor. So semiconductors are between conductors and insulators, right? Electrons are not free as in conductor, and it's not tightly bound as in insulators. So they have like in between properties, for example carbon and silicon. And they are silicons usually the widely used in semiconductor industry. So we go how these electron semiconductors are arranged. How do we get? So let's take it to the silicon as an example. Okay. So what is the atomic number? This is 14 plus. So 14 plus means if we see the electron distribution here, the first sublet S subcell is completely filled, P filled, N equal to 1 filled, 2 filled, and N equal to 3. Let's so come to the N equal to 3. So here we can see 1, 2, 3, 4. This is, it should be 8 electrons over here, but here is only 4 electrons. It means it is partially filled and partially empty, right? It is partial. So there is a high chances. I mean, there is high chances it can donate the electrons or it can get the electron. It's a partially filled. So that's the electronic structure of it. Just keep this in mind because we have to think about a little bit later how this can be, we can introduce free electron and free holes over here. So this is the electronic structure over here. Now we have the another example, germanium. Germanium, how, what is the atomic number? This is the 32. So it is having 32 protons and 32 electrons. So in case of it, it's what is happening, 2 electrons in the first orbital, 8 electrons in the second orbital, 18 electrons in the third orbital, and again 4 electrons in the outermost orbital. So electronic configuration is same in case of the silicon and germanium. All right. Okay. Now, how this crystal lattice structure is formed in these materials. Okay. If you see here, they have unique capabilities, right? In these semiconductors, they have unique capabilities to link together to form the physical crystal structure, which is called physical structure, which is generally called crystal structure. And these unique properties comes from the binding of the electrons, or sharing of the electrons from the outer cells, from the outer electrons. For example, we are talking about the outer cells only. So outermost shells of the atom is capable to hold up to 8 electrons, because we saw in the outermost there's each having 4 electrons, right, in the silicon, and similarly second atoms also having the 4 electrons. Okay, so what will happen? They can share the 4 electrons and they can fill up the outermost shell for the each electron. So it's like a sharing of the electrons, and these are kind of the sharing is called generally covalent bonds. These are filled by covalent bonds. So if you see here, this is my silicon electron and this is sharing one because it is having the 4 electrons in the outer shells, right? So it can share the 4 electrons with 4 nearby silicon atoms, right? So there is 1 electron shared here, 1 electron shared here, 1 electron shared here, 1 electron shared here, right? So it is sharing. Similarly, this electron is getting another electron from the neighborhood silicon atoms E. So one is from the top silicon atom, one is from the left silicon atom, one is from the right silicon atom, similarly one is from the bottom silicon atom. So this silicon atom is again getting 4 electrons on the sharing basis from the other 4 nearby atoms. So effectively it becomes 8 electrons, and this kind of the bonding is called what? Covalent bonding, right? So these are common. So in that case, these are generally in the minus at 0 degrees Kelvin temperature, these semiconductors are generally insulators. Take a note, at 0 Kelvin, these semiconductor will be insulator because there is no free electron, because see, the all electrons are forming the covalent bond. There is no free electrons over here. So that's why if there is no free electron, definitely it will be insulator. All right. So if we see in 3D crystal structure, how will it appear? So if we see at the corner, because this is the cubic structure. So at the each edge of this cubic structure, we can consider there is a silicon atom is existing. So you can see the silicon atom is existing, and this silicon atom is sharing the electrons with the nearby silicon atom by covalent bonds. So this is your sharing. If you can see here, this is the sharing. So that, and this is generally we call this imaginary cube. Okay, simple. So we have previously discussed over what is the cubic structure. So it's formed the cubic structure where the silicon atom is existing at the each edge of the cubics. All right. So now let's say semiconducting, just give me a minute, please. So semiconducting can be insulated. So I just, until unless there is a no free electron, okay, the semiconductor acts as a insulator because there is no one to carry the electricity or the flow of the charges. So the and generally it happens at 0 Kelvin degree, 0 Kelvin temperature. Okay, now the comes electron and hole current. What is electron current and what is hole current? Okay, from the name onwards, when the current obtained from the electron will be electron current, while the current obtained from the hole will be hole current. Okay, so if we go one by one point, then I will explain it. In conductors, current is caused by only the motion of electrons because their electrons are free. But the semiconducting current is caused by both electrons in the conduction band and holes in the valency band. So in the previous lecture, we discussed the electrons exist in conduction band and the holes exist in valency band. That's why what happened? There will be the electron current and holes current in both in semiconductor, right? Second, current that is caused by the electron motion is called electron current. It's clear. And the current that is caused by the hole motion is called hole current. Hope it's clear. Electron always is carrying the negative charge while the holes is always carrying the positive charge. So because these are two opposite charge, so it can make a sense that the conduction of holes and electron will always be in opposite direction, right? Because they are carrying a opposite charge, correct? But the total current will be always in the single direction. We'll come back to how it will be the same direction. So now, as I discussed, at the absolute zero temperature, intrinsic semiconductor behaves as insulator. So silicon and gallium arsenide, these are called intrinsic semiconductor until unless we dope by anything else, by any other atom. So these are called intrinsic semiconductor. Please take a note this terminology, intrinsic semiconductor, because we will be repeating this terminology in this unit again and again. Okay, so absolute zero temperature, intrinsic semiconductor behaves as insulator. However, at room temperature, the electrons present in the outermost orbit absorb thermal energy. So whatever we are talking about, at the room temperature, the generally the energy is always 0.025 Kelvin, electron volt. So what happened? These electrons which are in valence electrons absorb the energy, absorb the thermal energy and transfer to the valency band, conduction band, and after that it becomes free. So there is a one electron in conduction band and another holes in valency band because of that, because of what? Thermal energy. They absorb the thermal energy and after that it becomes free, and these at the room temperature, these free electron and free hole will be responsible for the conduction of electricity. All right. So when the valency band electron moves from the valency band to the conduction band, a vacancy is created, right? Always when, okay, in the valency band where the electron left, such vacancy is called hole, right? So when the valency electrons moves from valency band, jump from the valency band due to the thermal energy to the conduction band. So electrons has jumped, so it will leave a vacancy over here. This vacancy will be called hole. And what will be the charge on this hole? Just guess. This will be the positive charge. Why? Because the electron, this will be always opposite to the charge of electron, because electron is carrying the negative charge. When it leaves behind the hole, then hole will be positive charge, and this hole is always called, carrying a positive charge, and this will be equal in an amount. Okay, this is just representation how these electrons and currents are flowing, whatever that we have discussed in the previous slide. Let's say this is the indication. We have the electrons filled in valency band, conduction band is completely empty, right? Once we provide them the thermal energy, so what will happen? The electron will jump from the valency band to the conduction band, leave behind the hole over here, right? After that, what will happen? We apply a bias. We apply a bias over here. Okay, so what will be the bias? We will be applying the positive bias on the right side and negative bias on the left side. So here will be our negative bias. So I just write it so you can see the easily. Just give me a minute. So let's say we just apply the negative, okay, and here we have positive bias. So what will happen here? Because this is positive bias, whatever, because this is a positive, it will attract the negative charge. Negative charge means electron. It will attract the electron. When it is negative charge, it will attract the holes. Then holes will start moving towards the negative electrode, while electron will start moving the positive electrode. So it will be moving from in this direction, whilst holes will be moving in this direction, if you see here. All right. So this will be flow of electron and this will be flow of holes in this direction. Then it will provide a current over here. It will provide current. All right. So this will be the how the electrons and holes current will. So this electron flow will provide the electron current and hole flow will be providing the hole current. So okay, I just remove this first, otherwise will be. Okay, now the conduction in intrinsic semiconductor. We are talking about the intrinsic semiconductor at the silicon only. The process of conduction in intrinsic semiconductor is shown in figure in this way. So same, which I have already discussed this. So free electron, once we apply some biasing over, there will be a free electron and free holes. When we apply the bias, positive bias and negative bias through the battery, the electrons will be traveling towards the positive direction, positive bias, while the electron will be holes will be traveling towards the negative bias. So that will be, and this will be always due to the attractive force or the opposite charges, and this will provide, and this will be giving the conduction in semiconductor. All right, so just a minute. Okay, now it's about the intrinsic carrier concentration. What does it mean, the intrinsic carrier concentration? So in intrinsic semiconductor, when the valency band broke, we are breaking the valency band, the covalent bond, valency electron broke the covalent bond and jumped into the conduction band. Then two types of charge carriers gets generated, right? There will be one electron and one hole, that both will be free. Then what will happen? The number of electrons per unit volume, make sure, take a note, this is going to be per unit volume. So this will be per unit volume. Okay, the number of electrons per unit volume in the conduction band, and similarly the number of holes per unit volume in the valency band is called intrinsic carrier concentration. This will be intrinsic carrier concentration over here. Correct. So, and if you see, because once the one electron is going to the conduction band, the same, I mean, holes are created in the valency band. It means the number will be same. So whatever will be the concentration of the electrons in the conduction band, the similar concentration will be of the holes in valency band, and this will be equal, right? And this, generally this is called hole or electron carrier concentration. All right. So if we see here, the intrinsic carrier concentration, this is always in equal. So and this is always determined by the temperature. So I just share another screen with you so you can see how it is going to affect it. So it's going well. Is it going well now? Can you please message me? Do you understand anything? If you have any doubt, can you please let me know? Hello guys, can you let me know if you have any doubt? I can't hear you. What happened? Okay, great. Okay, so I hope a lot of things will be clear now. So I just move further. So I have shared a link with you guys. Please go through that link. That's a very nice understanding of the semiconductor physics, right? So you need to start practicing some numericals as well. So I'm going further now. So the Fermi level in intrinsic semiconductor. Okay, so let me enlarge it. Okay, please keep responding me. Don't, I mean, stay silent. If I'm asking something, please, I mean, start responding in this chat window. So at least I'm aware that you are listening me. Otherwise, it appears that I'm just speaking, nobody's listening me. Okay. So now, I move. So Fermi level in intrinsic semiconductors. I just move my screen. Okay. So what is the Fermi level in intrinsic semiconductor? So let's go it with this first. The probability of occupation of energy levels in valency band and conduction band is called the Fermi level. Remember, the probability of occupation of energy levels in valency and conduction band is always a Fermi level. At absolutely zero temperature, intrinsic semiconductor acts a perfect insulator, as we have discussed, because there is a no free electron. However, as the temperature increases, free electrons and holes gets generated, okay, because of the thermal energy. Okay, now in intrinsic or pure semiconductor, the number of holes in the valency band is equal to the number of electrons in the conduction band. Hence, the probability of occupation of energy in the conduction band and the valency bands are equal, and therefore the Fermi level of the intrinsic semiconductor lies in the middle of forbidden band. What does it mean? So I just give you a drawing. Let's say this is our energy level diagram, right? And this is my conduction band over here. This is my conduction. Sorry, I cannot write it here. Let me explain. Let me pick this. This is my conduction band here. This is my valency band here. What I will have? There are holes, and here are the electrons, right? Here are the electrons over here. So what happened? So see, the first line, what's it? Probability of the occupation of an energy level. This is the probability of the occupation of energy levels. So energy levels always determined by the concentration of the holes and the concentration of the electrons, because the concentration of the electrons and holes are equal in magnitude in intrinsic semiconductor. We are talking about the intrinsic semiconductor. So that's why what will happen? The Fermi level will be at the center of this. I'm not, my design is not that clear, so I just erase it. So let me erase it. So what will really, this will be at the center here, center between the energy, the valency band and the conduction band. So this will be my Fermi level. This will be my Fermi energy level. So this will be at the center of the energy band gap. All right. Hope it would be clear. So I just erase it now, then move to the further. It's clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Okay, now, yeah, it's representative. So this will be completely at the formula, and this is called our forbidden gap or energy band gap. So the concentration, how can we determine how much is the concentration of the holes in valency band and how much is the conduction electrons in the conduction band? There is always a formula, which is concentration of the holes will be equal to NV E to the power exponential minus EF minus EV over kBT. Similarly, the concentration of the electrons in conduction will be N is equal to NC E to the power minus EC minus EF over kBT. Let's go one by one. What is the NV? NV is the density of the states in valency band. So how many density of the states are lying in this valency band? Similarly, NC will be the density states, effective density of states in conduction band. So there will be always some density of the states. So where which need to be filled by the electrons. Let's say the density of states is lower, then all it cannot be, means the electron concentration cannot be higher than the available density of the states, right? It's like space for the electrons to occupy in the valency band. All right, if there is no space, then any of the electrons cannot be occupied in the either of the band, right? It's like a label. So what I say, for example, in the class, we go to the class, so we have the chairs, right? Chairs are our density of the states, and you guys students are holes and electrons. For example, we have separated by one line where we walk through, and one side, let's say left side, will be electrode, another side will be holes. And how many chairs are available? Chairs will be our density of the states. So the maximum number of the electrons, how much will be the maximum number of the students, is equal to the maximum number of the available chairs, right? If the chairs are 10, then only 10 will be available. It cannot be more than, we cannot allow any standing students, correct? So this is the definition of the density of the states, right? Now second one, then how it is determined? So first thing, it is determined by the NV and NC. Second, this is okay. I just, because only 10 minutes are left, so I just started. So now it's the EF minus EV. EF, this is my EF. So it will be determine the difference between the Fermi energy level and the valency band energy level. So this will be determine this energy gap over here. My mouse is, just give me a minute, please. It's time. Okay, right. Okay, anyway, so it is there. Now is the another factor, which is kBT. Kb is the Boltzmann constant, and it is the temperature. So you see, this is the temperature. So temperature is another important factor which will increase or decrease the concentration of the electron and holes in conduction and valency band. So these are very important formula. Please take a note, right? Because later we will be discussing this in further when we are talking about the distribution of it. So okay, now we are going to, so Fermi level in intrinsic semiconductor, in the previous one we saw it is holes and electron concentration always equal, and we can determine by Ni. N is the number concentration of the charge carriers in I for intrinsic semiconductor. This I is always in subscript. You remember, this will be in subscript. So this is intrinsic carrier concentration. And always if we see the Fermi level of intrinsic semiconductor is given as always EF is equal to EC plus EV by 2. So if we go, how it will comes it, because we saw this is always in middle, right? This is always in middle. Let's say this is for 2 electron volt here, valency band is at 2 electron volt, and this is at 6 electron volt. So how we can carry it? 2 plus 6, 8 divided by 2, 4, then it will be 4, right? It will be at the center, so it will be 4. So this will be exactly at the center, which appears from this formula. This is the energy of the conduction band, energy of the valency band. Okay, so it always lie in the middle of the forbidden gap or energy band gap. Now it's the extrinsic semiconductor. So hope it is clear what is the intrinsic semiconductor. Intrinsic semiconductor, when covalent bonds are exist and there is no free electrons and holes at uh, low temperature, specifically at 0 Kelvin, but thermal energy can provide the free electrons and holes, right? Now there is another category is extrinsic semiconductor. Extrinsic semiconductor, so we can get it free electrons and free holes. So what is the extrinsic? Generally, what we can say, extrinsic, so from the word it comes. So there is an external source. There should be an external source which can provide impurities in this intrinsic semiconductor, which can create the impurities or create the electron and holes in these intrinsic semiconductor to make it more conductive, right? So it would be clear, this is called, there's the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic. So extrinsic semiconductor, there might be some doping or there will be some external impulse or external influence or external impurities to create the conductivity in intrinsic semiconductor at room temperature or even at the low temperature, right? So what it will be, this kind of the processing is called a doping, right? What this process kind of the doping is called doping, and doping always enhances the electrical conductivities, and the extrinsic semiconductor has the high electrical conductivity than intrinsic semiconductor, as we discussed. Hence the extrinsic semiconductor are used to manufacturing of electronic devices such as diodes, transistors, your solar cells. There will be memories devices, there will be a lot of devices, right? The number of free electron and holes in extrinsic semiconductors are not equal. Make a note, these are not equal, it depends, right? We will going how. So you might have heard p type and n type. Now you can get it. The p type always has higher amount of the holes, while n type you have higher amount of the electrons, right? So in extrinsic semiconductor, so extrinsic semiconductor, let's say we want to create, we want to create a n-type semiconductor. So we dope the intrinsic semiconductor silicon by a pentavalent atom. Pentavalent atom, for let's say consider a phosphorus. Phosphorus has 5 electrons in its outermost orbit, right? And our silicon has the 4 electrons in outermost orbit. When you dope this atom silicon by phosphorus, it could be also arsenic, it could be also be antimony. So there is effectively there should be pentavalent impurities, pentavalent atom. So what will happen? These 4 out of the 5 electrons, 4 electrons from the pentavalent atom will make the covalent bond with silicon, right? 4 will be making the covalent bond to each other, right? So what will happen? 4 is shared. What will happen? The 1 is still left in pentavalent atom, and this 1 electron will work as a free electron. Because this is electron, so it work a free electron. It will treat it as a free electron, and it will give the conductivity to the our n-type semiconductor. This type of the semiconductor is formed n-type of semiconductor. These are called n-type of extrinsic semiconductor due to the doping of pentavalent impurities, right? So now there is another category where we can dope it by trivalent impurities. Trivalent impurities, for example, we have boron, gallium, indium, and beryllium. So in that case, what happened? Because this is the trivalent impurity, there are 3 atoms exist in the outermost orbit, right? So these 3 atoms will make a covalent bond of the 3 atoms from the silicon, right? But what will happen? There will be still one, I mean, there will be still one holes will be left behind here without any covalent bond, and this hole will be called our, what will be called our, it will be works as a conducting element here. So this will be our p-type semiconductor. It will form our p-type semiconductor. Okay, so I just end here. So this will be n-type and p-type semiconductor. You can go through how it is making conduction. The conduction may n-type semiconductor and p-type semiconductor. Please, whatever I'm discussing over here, it is, I will share with these slides, or even slides which I have shared and you guys shared. it is written over there completely. Okay, please go through that. Let me know if you have any other doubts, so I will explain you.
Mm.
Aha, very clear, is it?